Hi guys. So I have been gone for a few months now, actually. Nothing significant, nothing major. I think the last time I made a video actually was Halloween-a-thon, or right before. I did participate in Halloween-a-thon. It was a great time. I'm definitely gonna do Old School April. We got an April and then a Halloween-a-thon in the new year. But basically, I just been busy with personal stuff, real life. Um, Library looks a little bit different because we moved. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to kind of shoot in here now. Once I get the shelves set up where I'm happy, I'm gonna do a library tour. I do have boxes of paperbacks in the closet over there though. I gotta figure out something to do with. Um, but we moved. Work has been going great. I work as a TPM, a technical program manager, at a well-known corporate company. I don't want to go too much into doxing information, but that takes a lot of my time. I'm in charge of multiple engineering teams and multiple projects, so I do stay pretty busy. I've been reading, I just haven't had a lot of time to shoot and stuff, and we didn't have internet for a month at the new place. That was just a whole thing. It was terrible, utterly terrible. I really want to get back into the swing of this. Um, some small changes. So I think as far as like content on the channel, I'm really going to focus on this type of conversational discussing what I'm reading. Here I'm going to read reviews on books and things of that nature that are just really easy to shoot and don't require a lot of editing. It's just something I know that I can kind of manage with my work schedule and everything I need to stay on top of. I don't have a shooting schedule. I want to set a goal to shoot at least one of these a week. I don't have a TBR for February. I don't have my next video plotted, but now that all of that is out of the way, I want to talk about some of the stuff that I've been reading while I have been gone. So, I want to get a couple out of the way because they're kind of a bummer, honestly, but I want to talk about them. So the first one is one that I'm not sure a lot of people are going to agree with me on, but that is Eruption, and it's got Michael Crichton on it. And a lot of the stuff from this book was in his notes, but ultimately it was really written by James Patterson, and I did not enjoy it. I did not enjoy it. I started reading it before Halloween-a-thon. I stopped reading it for Halloween-a-thon, and then wanted to read Christmas stuff, and I didn't like it. I even wasted an Audible credit on it trying to get through it that way, hoping that would be faster. I didn't like a lot of the characters. It felt like James Patterson at his worst, trying to emulate Michael Crichton's very action-y thriller style of storytelling, and I don't think it worked in any way, and I was so disappointed. I haven't donated it yet, but it's definitely gonna get donated. I'm not gonna reread it ever for sure. And that is also the case in this one. And this was one that I was way more disappointed on because it was a horror book. It looked so good on the shelf when I was still working at the bookstore. And that is Wilderness Reform by Matt Query and Harrison Query. And this was written by a couple local bullies, local to Colorado. And the premise of it, it's not as well known as Eruption, is it's a wilderness reform camp for juvenile delinquents, basically. And it centers on this one kid who I don't think is very likable. Doesn't have a lot of redeeming qualities. I don't want to go too into spoilers. His character doesn't really grow or change. The build-up is very, very slow. Like, very slow, and not in a mysterious way. Like, if you remove the slipcover entirely and you just look at this and you read it, you won't know it's a horror book until probably about halfway through. You just won't. It's just a drama about a teen kid who was juvenile delinquent, has some home problems that we never really talk about or address, and just lives at this camp. That's it for most of the book. And then once the mystery stuff starts, you get one little drop, goes nowhere until like the last 40 pages or so. And then the ending is just not a payoff at all. Like, there's just no payoff. I really didn't like it. I think on Goodreads I rated it like 2 stars, which is one of the lowest ratings, if not the, well, it's not the lowest, but the only things I really give 1 star are DNFs, and I don't even really count those. I don't think I have a single 1 star book on my Goodreads, because if I don't finish it, I'm not going to add it to my list. But I did not like that at all. The next few I actually did enjoy, at varying degrees, but the first one was Cold Snap by Lindy Ryan. This was actually part of the Christmas Nightworms package, and it's really short. It's really a novella. It's like 120 pages. I don't even think that, because I think there's an about the author and other section in the back. And this is centered around a woman and her son, who kind of go to this cabin for the Christmas holidays. It was a planned thing that they were going to do as a family. They're doing it not long after the accidental death of the father. And it's really a view into the mother's psyche and kind of everything that's going around. Think of, if you've ever seen The Babadook, the relationship with that mother and the son, but the son in the book is not near as incorrigible. They go to this cabin, and things are all out of place. There's a lot of weird warnings, and eventually something finds them. I don't want to spoil too much. It's really easy. It's only 100 pages. I really did like it. I don't think it's like standout. I wouldn't call it like 5 star or anything. But the character writing in this is just incredible. It's just an amazing look into this poor woman's mind, who is in a very emotionally fractured state, still trying to hold on to some semblance of familial relationships and joy through the holidays, because she knows what her husband would have wanted. There is a small trigger warning on this. There is animal cruelty. It's one scene, but it's there. Other than that, if it's on Kindle Unlimited or something, or you have the Nightworms subscription and you haven't made it to this book yet, I do really recommend it. This is a real good one. This one's going to be a little bit of an outlier, because I usually talk about horror and fantasy here, but I finally started rereading Tom Clancy's Net Force series. I like military thrillers. I always have. I tend to like the mysteriouser ones a little more, but the Net Force series is really fun. It's kind of like a CIA, FBI type of agency that focuses specifically on the net. And in this world, because this book was written in the 90s, the net is something you can kind of like connect to, like almost an AR or VR type of situation. Other than that, it's typical Tom Clancy mystery, thriller, a lot of political intrigue, but Net Force focuses on like this specific people within the agency, so it's almost like a very techie NCIS or something, and I really like that. So the second one is Hidden Agendas, and then this one is really, really good. It's kind of, how can I describe it without spoiling it? It's one of those books where one seemingly small event ends up setting off a massive chain reaction, which tends to be the norm if you read a lot of Tom Clancy. But I really liked it, and I'm going to read the next one probably in February. So my next one is not a novel, and I know I don't talk a lot about non-novels or even like non-fiction stuff on this channel. I want to do more of that. So I got, and I already read, I went through it all, Ashita no Joe, Fighting for Tomorrow. This is an old manga. I think it was originally printed in like the 70s, might have been the 60s. There's an anime out called Megalobox it's fantastic, but it's really like a modern retelling of this series. And it's about just this kid who's kind of homeless, who ends up getting into boxing. He gets spotted after a street fight with this old, homeless, kind of decrepit man on the downturn. He was a famous boxer and then became a coach. his gym fell apart, and he's trying to kind of, he sees a lot of potential in the kid, and he's trying to get him off the street through boxing, through teaching him boxing and underground fights. And it's really fun. There's a lot of really interesting characters. There are a lot of really funny moments to this. Like, so there's this little gang of like small school kids that all look up to Joe. And at one point he gets arrested, and so they're trying to make a distraction. And so like one of the kids, he's like a toddler, he just starts taking his clothes off in the middle of the police station in Japan. Uh, and it's just really corny and funny. And you can tell it's really old. The art style is very under what we would call par now, but it's a classic. The writing was just spectacular. And I already have volume 2. I think they're going to be doing 3 of these, I think is what it's going to take to do the whole thing. Odds are, if you like scroll through shorts, you've probably seen a clip or 2 of it. They end up on, the anime version of it ends up on shorts and Instagram reels all the time for some reason. So I have a couple more here, and then I think I misplaced my current read. We'll figure that out later. So a couple of weekends ago, I actually binged both of these, and that is Before They Are Hanged and The Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie. So now I've read the entire First Law trilogy, and I loved these. I love both of these. I did really like the First Law, which I have right back here. I really enjoyed it. I really loved Before They Are Hanged. I thought that was great. Joe Abercrombie just has this innate talent for character writing. It's very hard to do this many POVs and really do them well, and he did. I don't know that anyone else has done that as well, except maybe George R. R. Martin, but I really think I like Joe Abercrombie more in terms of his characters. Now he fleshes them out. It is grimdark. There's no real resolution. Anything that kind of feels like a resolution has a downside to it, unfortunately. But I really liked how most of these characters kind of developed. And when I say most, I mean I wish I would have liked to see more. I don't want to spoil too much. I wish I would have liked to see more personal growth from Giselle. And you'll know what I mean when you read the books. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I read the books. But I feel like every other character had kind of a full circle story to them, except that one. That's the only one. Even the characters that you read and you're not sure you're entirely supposed to like Glokta, spectacular. Just full circle works out. A lot of growth, but it's his, I would say, is almost, he may have grown personally, but the world around him went even farther south. It's spectacular. I'm definitely gonna read. I think the next trilogy is Shattered Sea. I could be wrong. I'd have to double check, but I know there is one more trilogy and then a lot of standalones. I'm probably gonna start getting through some of those this year, but I do want to start making a dent in all these shelves around me. And I want to read more nonfiction. I do actually want to talk about some of that on this channel, whether that's, I probably won't talk about everything nonfiction I read. Like, I just started Ethics by Benedict de Espinosa. It's a philosopher, a Spaniard philosopher. And then I got this over here, Putin's World by Angela Stent, and this is kind of, I wanted something on modern Russian history, and this is kind of exactly what I was looking for. It's specifically highlighting kind of the Putin era of the KGB, fall of the USSR, his career through the KGB, and then his kind of back and forth between Prime Minister and, I think, Parliament? No, not Parliament, President in Russia. Whatever it's called there. And it's very interesting kind of telling of Russia's modern history in the world and kind of how they have seen themselves since the fall of the USSR and how they have seen different EU nations since the fall of the USSR. But I want to read more of those. I don't have the book I'm currently reading, which I'm going to try and finish tonight. I do, actually. I just found it. And that is All Quiet on the Western Front. This is spectacular so far. This is an incredible POV book. I don't know much about the author. Obviously, I think everyone knows a little bit about All Quiet on the Western Front. It's kind of a singular point of view. It's almost written like the guy is writing letters home, but I don't think there's nothing indicating that it is that's the actual format of the book. It just kind of, that's how it comes off to me. But it specifically focuses on one kid, Paul Baumer, and I say kid because they were 19, in his unit through World War One. It's a bunch of German students, really. They had a teacher professor that kind of convinced them that that was what they should do, and so his whole class kind of joined, and he's serving alongside a lot of them. And it goes through everything from seeing, even early on, he sees some of his friends die, how they deal with rats in the trenches. Rats and lice were like a major issue in the trenches during World War One. They would eat food, they would attack small animals. I mean, they were just as dangerous as any other bacteria or thing. And then it would also talk about some of the stuff they go through. How 1 minute they might just be in a hut or a hole, and then once the shelling starts, it's just gone. Like, it's just not there anymore. It's a really visceral look at what it would have been like for people, what it was like, I should say, for people during World War One. I don't know if Erich Maria Remarque served, but I would almost, if he didn't himself, he talked to a lot of people that did. It's very visceral. It's very brutal in a lot of ways. And actually, I noticed this today. It kind of, the end has a little reader's guide, and one section of it actually includes question and topics to kind of think about and discuss its impact it had on you after reading. And I really like that in a book like this. But that is what I'm currently reading, and kind of where I've been. I'm going to try to shoot these more often. I need to get a new tripod too, and come up with a dedicated kind of shooting angle, and then eventually do a library tour. But, excuse me, I'm sorry I was gone. I definitely will be back more often. Everything is okay. There was just some big life changes. I'm happy to be back. I've been just obliterating books and booktube content since, and I cannot wait for some of the reading events throughout the year. Other than that, I hope you guys are enjoying whatever book you have at the moment. I hope you have as few DNFs as possible this year, this month, and I will see you next time.